To be FA or not to be FA? That is the question. My name is Kent, and this is your half-hour call.
And folks, this is your half-hour call. Half-hour call. The call is now half hour, please.
Alrighty, friends, we are back with another episode of Half Hour Call. If you ask 100 different stage managers how they got to the point of becoming a stage manager, you'll probably get 100 different answers. Well, I didn't get to talk to 100 people, but today I caught up with 4 different stage managers who all had completely unique paths from their college experience to where they are today. And stick around till the end of the video where we'll talk about the advice that these stage managers have for people as they forge their own path in this industry. Let's watch. Today I'm joined by some wonderful guests who are going to talk to us all about their different college experiences and how it's helped them in the professional world. So for each of my lovely panelists, if you guys could please introduce yourselves and give us a little bit of your schooling background and then where you are now.
My name is Branson. I'm a recent graduate from Western Carolina University. I graduated as of December in 2019.
I am Gavin Yehle, and I graduated May of 2019 from the University of Utah with a BFA in both acting and stage management. And I currently live in Seattle, Washington.
My name is Hunter Lewis. I am a recent graduate of Columbus State University. I just graduated in May, and I'm still currently located in Columbus, Georgia.
And hi, my name is Sean Patrick. I'm not so recent of a graduate. I actually left college after 2 years back in 2001 as an acting major, who then transitioned to stage management after several years of performing, living in New York City currently, and most recently was on the national tour of the band's visit in the stage management department.
So how did you arrive at the path that you took?
I grew up going to the youth theater program that was affiliated with the University of Utah, but also my mom works for the University of Utah, and it's an in-state school, so I got in-state tuition and then half tuition because my mom works there.
That's the dream right there. Half off of tuition. Yeah. That is the dream.
Oh gosh. But I stayed in the BA program to kind of keep my options open as far as classes and training, and really experience as much as I could in the college setting before I went out into the professional world where like a lot of that wouldn't have been possible.
I was auditioning for schools back in the late 90s, 1999, when I was doing auditions, and it hadn't quite hit musical theater hadn't quite hit its peak of, I guess, trendiness for students to audition. We're pre-Glee at this point. So I got into some really great programs and then didn't get into the schools because I did no work in high school, but I tested really well on my SATs. I was lazy and smart, which was a bad combination. But I did, however, get into 2 great schools in Ohio, Otterbein University and Wright State, both of which had very strong musical theater programs. I evaluated them, I spent my time at both, and Wright State was the state school, so I got the in-state tuition. And they had Dr. Pepper, which Otterbein did not, and that was very important to me. So, my college was selected by my caffeine addiction.
Because I took my gap year, I kind of felt like I had to rush into choosing a college because I had heard so many people say, like, if you take a gap year and you don't go back after that first year, you're never going to go back to school. And I knew school was something I wanted to continue. And so I found Columbus State just researching. And I think to my knowledge, they were the only school in the state of Georgia that offered a BFA in design technology. And I knew I didn't want to pursue a BA because I knew that meant acting classes, and I am absolutely not an actor. So I decided to go into the BFA program.
So in those programs, what kind of stage management training did you get? How extensive was it? And how much, I guess, on the job training or productions during school did you get to participate in?
As part of the requirements for my BFA, we had to stage manage or ASM 6 different shows. There's like direct mentorship throughout all of those. You do have to take an intro to stage management class to start out with, and then there are other advanced stage management classes that you can choose from different options of like what type of advanced stage management class you want to take.
We had kind of similar program where it's more of a you're working on productions and that's your training. We have the one like intro to stage management class that's taught by our production manager. And after that, they try to start you as an ASM on a show and work you into it at our school. But it is a lot of like, you're working on a production now, and that's your training.
Mine was got this much training in stage management at college. I didn't take a single stage management course. I remember watching stage managers and thinking, oh, that's cool. But then oddly enough, I went back to my alma mater, having never studied stage management there, and having dropped out after 2 years. I went back to be a guest lecturer in their stage management program, which the TD who was
That's
there
great.
did not know who I was, did not know my history, and was like, Sean was one of our great stage management grads. I was like, sure I was.
We only had one stage management class, and everybody in the department had to take it. And part of that class was lecture style. Regardless of what semester, you were assigned an ASM position to either a main stage show at Columbus State, or we had a partnership with the neighboring theater, Springer Opera House. But after that, once you take the stage management class, that's it. The stage managers apply for shows. You send in your resume, you mark off what shows you want to do. If you get something great, if you don't, you just have to live with that. We didn't have any sort of mentorship, like nobody was ever looking over your shoulder or checking in on you. But it was kind of just, if you got a show, go and learn and do it by yourself. And if you sink, then you know better for next time. And if you succeed, then that's great, and keep doing that, I guess.
With all of these various different educational paths, what was it like when you were trying to find your first few jobs outside of school?
I feel pretty lucky in that sense because my professor came from Seattle, and through her recommendations as well as her helping connect me in Seattle, I was able to sort of jumpstart my career.
For me, college was an incredible networking advantage, and that's how I got my first professional job.
Yeah, mine was a little different because when I got back to Cleveland after I left college, I did some work, moved back to Cleveland for a bit, and I found that some friends of mine that were directors just approached me about stage managing projects at some local theaters that were professional companies, but not necessarily union. They would use a couple equity guest artist contracts. So they paid. It was not great money, but it was fine. But they trusted me in a lot of different settings. It was a couple large musicals, a couple small plays, and I just kept weirdly getting recommended by people that were friends of friends who had never necessarily worked with me, but just were giving my name out, and I thought, oh, okay. At the end of that time, right as I was about to move up here, the national tour of Anything Goes was teching in Cleveland, the first national company. And my friend who worked at Playhouse Square, the large industry complex where I used to work, she said, hey, they need a PA for stage management. Would you be interested? So I took this PA gig and I hit it off really well with the PSM. He and I got to be really good friends and that whole team, which then led to other tours, meeting other people, networking more in New York, which then built my resume from there. But I took a slightly different path. I didn't have any school connections, unfortunately, to help me get there.
But you're one of their
the
proudest stage management graduates.
Yeah. Congrats on graduation.
My first professional job was by just knowing somebody, and he knew somebody who was a local who was moving back into town, and he needed a stage manager. He was working on this new work. He was just trying to see what it feel it out, and he needed somebody to just kind of help him. And it turned out I met with him. He basically gave me the job as soon as I sat down. And after that, him and his friend started a company at the end of my junior year, going into my senior year, and they hired me to be their production stage manager. That's what I did all of my last year in undergrad. On top of stage managing at my university, I was also production stage managing with this new company, just because I knew somebody who knew somebody.
So what did you like about your path to stage managing professionally?
Because mine was very unorthodox, for me at least, I think that actually gave me an edge. Because what I found was I didn't know the rules. So I knew the basics enough, but I'd never had that one approach that was taught that this is the way it is done. Instead it was, here's the task that needs to be accomplished, figure out how to get there.
I knew even when I started in school that there were things I didn't know, that I needed to know if I was going to be able to talk to people about it. That's why I really appreciated the BA program and the opportunity to take more acting classes.
I mean, they do require you to take every single design area class, at least the first level, but being able to be in a program that then did give you the ability to do as much as you could or wanted, I think was a big advantage for me.
You had to take at least two from like lights, costume, set, and sound, and I focused primarily on lighting and sound. And I honestly think I did a lot of probably more designing than I ever did stage managing, but being able to get in there and understand what it takes to be a designer, and then on the next project switch hats and understand what the designers are going through from a stage manager standpoint. That was always something that I really appreciated about the department and about the way that they worked.
But what were some of the challenges that you experienced specifically in your unique path that might have been different than some of the other things that you're hearing?
At my university, until the end of my sophomore year, they didn't let you get 2 BFAs. And so trying to deal with that and getting like all of the university bureaucracy was like a whole different level.
You have to be a voice in the room, and being able to like find your voice and put it out there and be confident in what you're saying, and that what you're saying is what needs to be done. That can be a lot harder to find when you're saying that to a professor, or you're saying that to one of your friends. Whether it goes either way, you're putting yourself out there.
One of the biggest things for me, kind of going directly along with that, is the idea of self-advocacy. What do I need to learn how to say no to? What do I need to learn how to say that's actually not my job? And I'm happy to do that for an additional rider and additional compensation, because otherwise I'm giving you permission to then let the next stage manager do that and to continue this expectation. But because I've done a lot of these things, sometimes people look at me and go, yeah, but what do you do? And I kind of have to take a step back and go, I'm a theater artist, I'm a stage manager, but I do other things. And people's brains kind of explode, because in this industry, especially when you get into New York, you get pigeonholed. You are this thing. And if you don't fit that thing, they don't know what to do with you. All of these differences between regional and commercial theater were so different, and I wish I would have known those, so I didn't feel like I was really getting a second baptism by fire, thinking I knew what I was doing and then realizing I knew nothing that I was doing when I got into it.
Specifically when you were talking about advocating for yourself and the importance of making sure you're aware of when you're taking on extra duties and all of that, that it's not just advocating for yourself, it's advocating for everyone that comes after you. You said that, but I wanted to really drive that point home because it's so important.
The biggest challenge, I think, going off of what Zoe and Sean said was, and there's a specific term for this and I cannot for the life of me think of it, but when you go through so many rehearsal, like in production processes, and you know you can do it, but every time a new opportunity presents itself, you suddenly start doubting yourself. You're like, well, what if I was just faking it last time? Like, what if that was just an accident that it went right? I struggled with that.
Imposter syndrome.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yes. Thank you. I struggle with imposter syndrome.
What advice do you have for future stage managers that might want to forge their own path?
Ultimately, at the end of the day, it kind of doesn't really matter what path you take, as long as you're passionate about it and you want to like keep working and keep meeting people and just like keep having that like hunger to, you know, do what we do, because it's awesome.
A friend of mine who's a lawyer, when he had left law school, he said that being a lawyer isn't what they taught him in college. They taught him law. They taught him legalities. He had no idea how to practice that. That he had to figure out once he got out of school. And I think that's what college does very well, is it lays a great foundation. And I'm not saying all programs. I'm saying some programs don't necessarily then take it the next step, which is how do you put this into practice out of this university bubble?
Being able to, you know, pick up, it's one of the things that like I think an improv class is honestly really useful for. Just having that like quick on your feet, like what's the most effective tactic here. It's a lot of things that you can't learn in the classroom.
And I think it's really important that people like have a good understanding of their morals and like who the type of people they want to work with. Just understanding yourself and the type of theater that you want to make, and ensuring that you are able to continue to do that.
Right, awesome. Well, does anyone have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Take everything with a grain of salt, and take what you like and leave what you don't, because everybody's path is different.
It's important to set goals for yourself and have realistic and healthy goals. And it's good to have goals that are perhaps lofty. That's great. But the biggest thing is to not make a specific goal your only means of justification that you are successful, that you are worthy, that you have done something good. If you're not doing it because you love it and because it's something you're passionate about, you're only doing it to get to an end result, your work is going to suffer, your relationships are going to suffer, and you're never going to find the joy that's going to continue to drive you forward in a career.
Never underestimate any opportunity that you may have. And with that, don't underestimate the people around you, you know?
No one person on a production team in the cast is better than somebody else. It's all teamwork and it's all collaborative, and to just treat everybody really well, regardless of what show it is, where you are, if you're new, any of that. Just always remember to treat people with kindness and respect.
My stage management professor has her like number one, not like rule, but like rule of stage management is be a good person. Then you're gonna make the room a fun place to be, and you're gonna potentially get more work simply because you are a good person.
And speaking of people that light up a room, thank you all so much for lighting up this Zoom room. You were saying earlier you can't do theater without everybody. This couldn't have happened without each and every one of you. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us and talk to whoever ends up watching this about your experiences and how we're all going to have different paths and how we all love what we do, which is so important. If you're watching this, tell me about your path down in the comments below. I want to hear everyone's different path. If there's 100 comments, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 100 completely different answers. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Kent, and this has been your half-hour call. Do you have a question or an idea for a video? If you do, send me an email at askhalfhourcall@gmail.com. That's askhalfhourcall@gmail.com.